Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative Headline News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has commended the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for stepping in to assist commuters affected by Monday's maxi taxi strike. Ooh, how nice. Yeah, all part of a PR stunt, in my opinion. In an effort to ease the disruption, the TTPS deployed its own fleet of maxi taxis to transport stranded citizens. Yeah, all of a sudden, boy. Acting on the directive of Police Commissioner Alistair Guevara, man that needs to step down from his position, 5 TTPS maxi taxis were dispatched to Citygate in Port of Spain, providing transport along key routes and ensuring that workers, students, and families were able to reach their destinations. The initiative was widely welcomed, including by the Prime Minister, who publicly praised the officers for their outstanding leadership, compassion, and service to the public. In a statement shared on social media, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar Queen Kamla noted that the TTPS went beyond the call of duty by assisting stranded commuters, supporting vulnerable individuals, and demonstrating the service's core values. Yeah, the core values of the TTPS is to bully the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, my dear Prime Minister. Bully them, and also to carry out extrajudicial killings. That is what this corrupt TTPS core values are. The TTPS said the initiative reflects its continued commitment to both public safety and community support, particularly in times of need. Yeah, so much safety that even when a man puts his hands up in the air, still ends up receiving 19 bullets from TTPS. My response: Queen Cam's TTPS rough men should all become taxi drivers because they're a complete failure when it pertains to solving crimes in TNT. We're not just talking about the extrajudicial killings, people. We're not. They probably can't even solve a jigsaw puzzle. The detection rate, Google it for yourself, the detection rate is extremely low here in Trinidad and Tobago. And that's why the government has to be infringing upon our rights, our constitutional rights, by imposing an SOE. And maybe she might continue to do that for the next 4 years, which is basically declaring to us that you have transformed our country into a police state. You cannot govern a country and fight crime using an SOE, Kamla. The biggest lawbreakers in TNT are members of the extrajudicial killing police service. The vast majority, I've said it before, I will say it again. The vast majority of police officers are not criminals in that way. Okay, people? Let me make it that very clear. The vast majority of police officers are basically law-abiding citizens, but they are bullies. Most, if not all, police officers are bullies. Most, if not all, police officers are hypocrites. They park illegally, whether in police vehicles or in their private vehicles, in order to be able to conduct personal errands. They will park illegally to go in the bar. They will park illegally to go by the ATM. They will park illegally to go and buy food like roti. And yet they will charge people a $2,000 ticket for doing the same thing. They are hypocrites. They also use obscene language while interacting with citizens of the country of Trinidad and Tobago. They are hypocrites. But then there is a small percentage that are actual criminals as well. They're guilty of extortion. They are guilty of human trafficking. They are guilty of drug trafficking and controlling drug blocks and extorting money from drug blocks as well. And also, most of all, they are guilty of extrajudicial killings. And the problem is that we have a TTPS that isn't doing anything to root out these bad cops, these rogue cops. And it shows that the entire system is corrupt. And it shows this is the reason why people like Alyssa Phillips and the rest of us here in Trinidad and Tobago that aren't influenced by politics. This is why we continue to call out for justice and for police reform. Not because we don't want to have a police service here in Trinidad and Tobago. We want a legitimate police service. We want a police service that will ensure that the police officers abide by the same laws which they enforce upon the rest of the citizens of this country. We want a police service that will ensure that the rogue officers the criminals within the system are removed and are charged and imprisoned for their criminal actions. And we are not seeing that taking place. We didn't see that in the PNM, and we're not seeing it under the UNC. And the problem is under the UNC, they're getting even much more support than they got under the PNM. A coalition of 11 trade unions is threatening legal action against the government over newly imposed state of emergency regulations that restrict public demonstrations at 15 designated locations across Trinidad and Tobago. Those 15 locations, people, are places that people usually go to protest, like by the Red House. UNC people used to do that all the time. All of a sudden, now they're supporting Queen Kamla's draconian measures. Hypocrites, I'm telling you, complete hypocrites. They're showing themselves to be even bigger hypocrites than members of the Mighty Muffin, Gadayam, Coalpot, Bicycle, No Harm, No Macaroni Pie, PNM. Speaking at a joint press conference on Tuesday, Tutor President Crystal Ash said that unions' immediate concern is what they describe as sweeping limitations on citizens' constitutional rights to protest. Exactly. And then Queen Kams will come and say that, well, you know, you could protest, you just can't protest in these particular areas. But these are the areas where the protests end up being effective, people. And that is what she knows, and that is why she's trying to prevent it from taking place. Our main focus here today would be the 15 identifiable locations that we are prohibited from protesting, and that is why we are here, Ash said. Notably absent from the press conference was OWTU President General Ansel Roger. I'm quite disappointed in that, because even though you support the government because you want to get back Petrotrin in operation, you cannot be blindly supporting them either. That is wrong what you're doing. Who also serves as leader of the Joint Trade Union Movement, JTAM, one of the country's most influential labor umbrella groups. However, union representatives made it clear that his absence should not be interpreted as a sign of division within the labor movement. Let's hope so. They stressed that the media briefing was not convened under the banner of JTAM, but rather by a coalition of 11 individual trade unions united in their opposition to the protest restrictions contained in the emergency. So this is not just about the protest for Kaya Seeley and Joshua Sabru. I'm telling you, this is a decision made by the government to ensure that even unions and other private citizens or members of the public sector cannot protest against the government. The unions maintain that there remains broad consensus across the labor movement on the need to protect workers' rights and democratic freedoms. While declining to comment on other aspects of the regulations, Ash said the coalition had not yet discussed those matters and was concentrating its efforts on the protest restrictions, which is what we all are concerned about most of all right now. My response, Kamla, Queen Kamla, is probably laughing at all you UNC fanatics who are crying, so why didn't they protest for the past 10 years? The Queen Kamla is celebrating that because why? She got you all wrapped around her fingers. She got you all to be able to embrace and welcome communism, dictatorship, autocracy here in Trinidad and Tobago. All because you're saying, but PNM, nobody was complaining about it under the PNM. So you welcoming communism here in Trinidad and Tobago because PNMites wasn't speaking about it when Rowley was in office. That making sense to you all? It doesn't matter if they are being hypocrites, my dear UNC patriots. The fact remains that we are becoming a dictatorship yet again, under Queen Kamla. When will UNC members and voters acknowledge the fact that Queen Kamla has gone too far? This is not the woman we voted for back in 2010, people. Definitely isn't the same person. This woman has gone rogue and is now obsessed with having ultimate power and control over we the people. And this is why I recommend that there be an age limit for becoming Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago. Initially, I said 65, but then the individual said 60, and I agree with them. Because if you allow them to be 65, they become so obsessed with power by the age of 70. I don't know if it's anything pertaining to the mortality or what, but they become extremely obsessed with power by the time they reach 70. So you know what? 60 maximum. So that when they exit office is at the age of 65. What else does this woman have to do in order for you to realize that she's now a dictator, just like Rowley? Queen Kams is using crime as an excuse to continue renewing the SOE in order to use her rough men in the TTPS to persecute and oppress the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Only a tyrant would designate zones where protests are prohibited, people. PNM never even did it, and Rowdy was a dictator. Citizens have a right to be able to stand outside their parliament, our parliament, and other government buildings to send a peaceful message that they are concerned or displeased with any issue that exists within our country. That is the reality, people.
Weather report for Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago will experience cloudy periods with occasional showers and isolated thunderstorms on Wednesday, June 3, 2026. According to the Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service, there is a 60% chance of heavy showers or thunderstorm activity favoring Trinidad during the day. The maximum temperature will reach 33 degrees Celsius 91 degrees Fahrenheit, with a minimum nighttime low of 24 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Marine conditions. Seas will be moderate in open waters with waves running from 2.0 meters to 2.5 meters. Sheltered areas will have waves staying near 1.0 meter, but they can become occasionally choppy. Additional forecast details. Winds will blow primarily from the east at speeds of 8 to 11 miles per hour, 13 to 18 kilometers per hour, though it may become gusty near heavier showers. High relative humidity levels averaging around 77% will elevate the heat index, making the outdoors feel warmer than the actual thermometer reading. A high UV index of 8 is expected around midday, necessitating sun protection if you are outdoors.
Regional news now. 9 students from Wake Forest University, USA, are currently in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as part of an environmental communications program. The students are studying St. Vincent and the environment, including its impact, challenges, and how Vincentians navigate environmental issues. The group, accompanied by 2 professors, including a Vincentian who initiated the program in 2019, attended the recently held Fisherman's Fair activities in Kingstown.
The trip is around environmental communication to talk about the ways in which humans and the environment interact and the way in which we can protect the livelihoods as well as the environment in St. Vincent. So we've met with a lot of practitioners, a lot of individuals that do a lot of fantastic work. From a sort of like a microscopic perspective, and the theme is Bridge to Reef, and they get to see how we communicate all of the environmental challenges with respect to hurricanes, natural disasters, fires, floods, etc. So we're here, we try to incorporate a lot of the local knowledge, the local experts, the forestry, NEMO, and many other organizations. So actually you too, your very organization was part of the process. And we visit a lot of the sites. We went to Soufrière the first day, which was really, really remarkable to see what happened since the eruption. And also we have been to the Montreal Gardens, the forestry assisted us in getting permission to go to the catchment site. Also, we're going to be going to Beckwith, and we have also going to Vermont Nature Trail.
International news now. Dr. Oz reveals why President Trump gets so many medical checkups from his team of doctors. A reporter asked, if the president is in such perfect health, why does he keep going back in for checkups? Dr. Oz said, I think he likes the results. Yeah, Trump loves himself. He does really well. He aces the test every single day. I do actually believe that he's curious to make sure everything is going in the right direction. Maybe he is, maybe he is. But he does love himself. Don't get me wrong. He's a very meticulous person in so many ways that are often underappreciated. But for him to want to know all the numbers and keep on top of him, it's the same reason he calls people at odd hours, because something's on his mind. He wants to deal with it. There's nothing wrong to keep checking up on your health. Maybe he's a little obsessed with it though, doing it so often.
I just wanted to follow up on her question behind me. If the president's in such perfect health, why does he keep going back in for checkups?
I think he likes the results. He does really well. He aces the test every single day, and I do actually believe that he is curious to make sure everything is going in the right direction. He's a very meticulous person in so many ways that are often underappreciated. But for him to want to know all the numbers and keep on top of them, it's the same reason he calls people at odd hours, because something's on his mind and he wants to deal with it.
Ukrainian long-range drones successfully struck the St. Petersburg oil terminal overnight, causing massive explosions and fires. The domestic drones flew over 1,000 kilometers from Ukraine to hit the strategic 37-hectare port facility. The attack was timed just hours before the opening of Vladimir Putin's major international economic forum in the city. The strike caused heavy black smoke, forced local authorities to temporarily stop flights in Pulkovo airport, and led to the disabling of regional mobile internet services. This operation marks a significant escalation as it directly penetrated air defenses in Russia's second largest city to disrupt a critical oil export hub. But bear in mind, Ukraine didn't target civilians. Let's see what the tyrant Putin will do, what his response will be. A message to President Trump, from Amr Safati, who is a well-known Messianic Jewish Bible teacher and founder of Behold Israel. President Trump, the Ayatollah is the one deserving your outrage, not Israel. President Trump showed utter disrespect for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently, simply because Netanyahu continues to stand strongly with Israel in defending themselves against not just the Ayatollah, but the Hezbollah terrorists in Lebanon. All Trump cares about is making peace and these peace treaties and stuff like that. Meanwhile, he ignores when Hezbollah violates these agreements being made between Lebanon and Israel. Trump doesn't care. All he cares about is achieving peace in the Middle East, so he can be considered the greatest peacemaker in the world. I'm telling you, he has the spirit of the Antichrist within him. But let me get back to what Amr Safati said. He said, President Trump, the Ayatollah is the one deserving of your outrage, not Israel. The people of Israel have great respect for Netanyahu, while millions of Iranians despise the regime that oppresses them. Murder them as well. Tens of thousands murdered by the Ayatollah regime. And no, Israel's existence does not depend on any president, prime minister, or world leader. Israel was here before you, Trump, and Israel will be here long after you are gone. We are not sustained by man, but by the faithfulness of God. Well said, Amr Safati, standing up for your country and speaking the truth to President Trump, because I know you really do like Trump a lot. I like Trump to an extent. I like a lot of the policies that he implements in America locally. But when it pertains to what the decision that he's being made that was being made by him in the Middle East, it's terrible. And also how he's always showing utter disrespect for the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. That should have never been tolerated by yourself and others. And thankfully, you are standing up for your Prime Minister.
Bible quote of the day. James 5:14-16. Is anyone among you sick? Let them call the elders of the church to pray over them and anoint them with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well, the Lord will raise them up. If they have sinned, they will be forgiven. Therefore confess your sins to one another and pray for one another so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's headline news. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.